Google reviving the pricing objective of giving something away for free and hoping making money on the back end, using their Android operating system for mobile devices to compete against Apple. Is this a viable strategy? And if not Google, who is actually going to make money from this? We've got Roger Kay joining us, and if it involves technology, well, Roger's been there, done that, written the book, and he knows what he's talking about. Roger, what's going on with this Android thing? It seems like a business model from 1999, is it not?
Well, there are some relationships to Web 2.0, Jeff, but this is really kind of a new world. Google came up with a lightweight operating system that's very useful on phones, and it mimics in some ways some of the things that iOS does for Apple. And in the last year, Android has risen to become a viable competitor to Apple. In fact, it's the only real viable competitor to Apple in the smartphone business.
Yeah, it's mimicking Apple is a great way to go to court where you get sued for a massive amount of money. It's how is Android going to defend themselves, or Google going to defend them against all these lawsuits or claims that we violated this, that, and the other thing?
Okay, so bear with me on this one, Jeff, because it's a little complicated. So no one is suing Google yet. Okay, so the way it works is this. The companies that have intellectual property in that area, it turns out there's two that are claiming intellectual property. Both Microsoft and Apple believe that they own certain aspects of things that Google is doing, and they would like to derive some money for that. Both of those companies attack where the money enters the system. And where the money enters the system is at the device maker level. So you've got companies like HTC, which sell phones, and they use the free bits that Google gives them, the free Android bits, and then sells the phone hardware for money. So at that point, they find themselves facing a lawsuit, and they just got a preliminary ruling against them in a case that Apple brought, in which Apple said, no, they're imitating our stuff, and they can't do that. We invented it, and we want them to cease and desist. We want them to stop importation into the United States, I think is the way that the Apple suit is stated.
Isn't this sort of the Bob's business model, if you can buy a little protection from Apple in terms of this stuff? I mean, Apple claims to have a patent on the word app. That's a little bit crazy to me. How aggressive is Apple going to be in these lawsuits? And basically, how are they going about being aggressive? Because obviously very is the answer to how aggressive they're going to be.
Right. Okay, so on the very day in which a judge made a preliminary ruling against Apple saying that, no, you can't say that an app store is really some special thing. It's actually quite generic. And maybe was used before you used it, and so on. On the very day, Apple had out a press release in which it used the term App Store, uppercase, with the little TM beside it to let you know that they still believe it's theirs.
Yeah.
Now, it's really no big deal. I think Lenovo just came out with its tablets, and it opened up what it's calling an app shop. So everybody understands what an app shop is. It's kind of an app store. So it doesn't really matter. In other words, that's a tempest in a teapot, that particular one. But it does say that Apple is being very aggressive and using its huge pile of cash to pay a lot of lawyers to go after people just because they can.
Okay. I mean, not to infringe on Apple's copyright, but I have an appetite for learning more about this lawsuit thing. It's how does Microsoft get involved? I mean, what kind of fist fight are we going to have here, and how's it going to play out?
Oh, it's huge. So Microsoft has got a similar sort of a deal. It's a different set of patents, but both Apple and Microsoft have deep patent portfolios. And if you have a deep portfolio like that, typically you don't fight another guy that has one like that. So Microsoft and Apple aren't fighting each other. In this case, the common enemy is Google. So what goes on there is Microsoft says to its existing customers and some others like Barnes & Noble that don't buy anything from Microsoft at the moment. Oh, by the way, that operating system you're using, that Android thing, actually we own that, and you need to license it from us. And so now Microsoft has executed at least 2 agreements that we know of in which companies are paying Microsoft licensing fees for Android, which was made by Google. So it's a little confusing. You say, well, how did that happen? And as you said, there's a little bit of the checkered tablecloth business in this somehow, because the nature of the conversation, I think I wrote about this on my Forbes blog, is basically that Microsoft comes in and explains the situation to the OEM. The OEM looks at their business with Microsoft and sees how much is in jeopardy and says, how much for that? And then basically pays them. So it's on a per unit basis, and there are some rumors out there that Microsoft is getting a handy $5 a copy from folks that are licensing from from them, not from Google,
yeah.
and that they're actually making more money on that than they are on Windows Phone 7, which is Microsoft's own phone OS.
Android looks to make money for Google, but not without a legal fight from some competitors. Thanks so much. He's Roger Kay with Endpoint Technologies.